Ladies and gentlemen, Fano and its Oromo counterpart Kiru gained prominence during the 2010 as they mobilized against the repressive rule of the TPLF-dominated government, which had controlled Ethiopian politics through a one-party system from 1991 to 2018. The alliance between officials from the AMHARA region and Kiru played a pivotal role in the political and administrative changes associated with Abiy Ahmed's premiership. During this period, the TPLF lost its grip on federal political power and the Prosperity Party emerged. In interviews, members of Fano described themselves as the guardians of Ethiopia, emphasizing the idea that AMHARA nationalism equals Ethiopianism. This stands in stark contrast to the Kiru movements in Oromia, which primarily advocate for the interests of the Oromo ethnic group. As of March 2020, one of Fano's stated objectives was to assert AMHARA region's control over the Metakel zone in the Benishangul Gumuz region, the northern districts of Welkate and Raya in Tigray, and the southern district of Dera. During the Tigray War, Fano supported federal and AMHARA regional forces against rebels aligned with the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF. Fano is perceived differently by various media outlets and human rights organizations, sometimes as a protest group and at other times as a militia. In October 2020, the Organization for World Peace described Fano as an AMHARA vigilante youth group that saw itself as providing law and order when the government could not. Fano has gained popularity among the AMHARA population for its efforts against the TPLF's invasion of the AMHARA region and its advocacy for AMHARA interests and protection of AMHARA civilians in other regions. Opposition groups often describe AMHARA militias using the term Neftenya, which is typically considered derogatory. Historically, the Fano tradition represents a grassroots alliance of ordinary citizens formed to resist external intervention and defend the country's freedom, sovereignty, and territorial integrity against foreign threats such as the Italian invasion. The Fano tradition has experienced a resurgence, initially due to the TPLF's aggression and now due to Abiy's expansionist agenda. The highly mobile and tactically adept Fano have quickly proven their capabilities on the battlefield, while also demonstrating respect for civilian life, public and private institutions, and adherence to international rules of engagement. This has earned them admiration and support beyond the AMHARA region. Given the AMHARA region's vastness, its status as the second-largest population center, and its economic and political importance, the government is using all available means to regain control, including deploying military force, including ground and aerial bombardments, at times targeting civilians. The government has been accused of gross human rights violations, suspected war crimes, and crimes against humanity. This heavy-handed approach is likely to exacerbate the situation. Despite military efforts, Abiy has lost control of nearly two-thirds of the country, including Tigray, parts of AMHARA, Oromia, Gambela, and Benishangul. With large portions of the country in turmoil, productivity, inter-regional trade, tax revenues, and various economic indicators are declining. Donor support, foreign direct investment, foreign currency reserves, tourism, and remittances are all shrinking. Coupled with rising debt repayment obligations and borrowing costs in dollars, the government lacks the fiscal capacity to sustain the costly war indefinitely. The population is experiencing the strain of maladministration, corruption, runaway inflation, soaring living costs, and increasing unemployment. The federal military is fatigued and demoralized from continuous conflicts, making it unlikely to restore peace soon. The growing dissatisfaction with Abiy's government is likely to bolster movements like Fano in other regions. However, Abiy appears determined to enforce his agenda rather than seeking a negotiated settlement. Given the country's ethnic divisions and years of radicalization, there is a genuine risk of a civil war with catastrophic consequences. Fano enjoys widespread popularity, particularly among the youth, who are increasingly joining their ranks. It is imperative for Fano to consolidate their forces and complement their military capabilities with visionary and astute political leadership. They must collaborate with other compatriots to alleviate the shared suffering and pave the way for a brighter future for all. On March 19, 2020, clashes, including gunfire, erupted between youth and regional security forces, supported by federal security forces in Gondar and Dabat in the AMHARA region. These youth were identified as Fano by Andafta media. However, Prosperity Party authorities in AMHARA denied any association between the youth and Fano, asserting that they were pursuing their own interests under the Fano name. On March 28, 2020, Solomon Atenor, then chairperson of Fano, claimed that the attacks had been initiated by regional and federal security forces, including the use of heavy artillery. Atenor reported receiving death threats against Fano members who survived the clashes. Gondar city officials accused Fano of killing and kidnapping people, confiscating property, freeing prisoners, and stealing weapons from police stations. They called on the group to disarm and surrender immediately. Atenor insisted that Fano would not disarm until their demands regarding land restitution were met. He also stated that Fano had contributed to peace by preventing an anti-government attack by Kemant extremists. On April 23, 2020, local state media reported that Fano leader Mesafint Tesfu had reached an agreement with government authorities after concerns arose that the violence might spread to other areas in the AMHARA region. Fano supported the ENDF and AMHARA regional forces in the Tigray War, which began on November 4, 2020, when TPLF-aligned forces attacked the ENDF Northern Command headquarters, termed a preemptive operation by TPLF spokesman Getachew Reda. On May 19, 2022, clashes erupted between regional and federal government forces and Fano in the town of Mota, when government forces attempted to disarm and arrest Fano members. Later that day, as locals gathered in protest against the arrests, federal and regional forces fired into the crowd, resulting in an unspecified number of casualties. On May 23, 2022, local state media reported over 4,500 arrests in the AMHARA region. AMHARA regional authorities, aligned with the Prosperity Party, contended that they were targeting individuals who had committed illegal acts in the name of Fano rather than Fano itself. However, many residents of the region disagreed. In response to the crackdown, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, EHRC Director Daniel Bekele, called on federal and regional security forces to refrain from arresting suspects without conducting criminal investigations, detaining journalists without court orders, and detaining people without a court order. On August 1, 2023, Fano clashed with the ENDF as part of the war on Amhara. The fighting began in Debre Tabor and Kobo on the first day, and on the following day, Fano seized Lalibela. Colonel Getnet, the ENDF spokesperson, issued a warning on state television, stating that the military would take measures if Fano continued to disrupt the country's peace. In response to escalating security concerns in the Amhara region, the government declared a state of emergency on August 4th, imposing bans on public gatherings, authorizing arrests without warrants, and implementing curfews.